This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I've learned so much from her in that what we create helps us heal. Talking about artwork today, and she is an art therapist. It's amazing what's going on there when you write something, when you create something, when you scribble, when you doodle. It's not just doodling. There's more going on there. It's coming from within. It should be coming from your heart. We're going to dig even deeper into that today with our professional of the year. It's great to have her back. Barbara Robertson is on the program. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks, Steve. It's always good to be here.
Same. And it's funny how we started off air talking about color. My shirt is kind of in the same family as what you're wearing and even what's in your background. And then that kind of spawned why do we make those decisions in terms of color, what we wear? It's very personal, very intentional. We don't close our eyes and just grab anything and wear it. We wear it for a reason. And wearing colors that we don't feel comfortable with, not even, certain colors you think make you look better. And I get that totally. But just there's a reason we wear certain things in certain colors. And is that ultimately coming from our heart?
I think it is because I think that our heart is really the place where we have an inner compass, so to speak, that guides us toward things that will benefit our system, enhance our life, enrich our capacity to be in the world and feel connected and safe and secure, and therefore have most access to our creativity and to our capacity to solve problems, which is really, if you think about it, kind of what life consists of is a series of problems or challenges to solve in each day, starting with the most mundane. What am I going to wear today? What should I have for breakfast? Do I need another cup of coffee or should I just stop now while I'm ahead of the game? Just, every little thing like that is a decision or a choice point.
But you know what I'm getting here now? Just like a little download. You're honoring thyself with all of this. Should I have a second cup of coffee? Well, you know what? I deserve that second cup of coffee. That's for me. That's a little piece of joy in the day. Yeah, I'm going to have that second cup of coffee. What am I going to wear? Well, I don't wear red. I don't wear brown. Just doesn't do it for me. And if I were to, I would think I'm not honoring thyself. I would think I'm going against myself. What's coming up for me? It's almost like, I'm cheating on myself with another color.
Well,
in a way.
No, that's funny. You should put it that way, but you wouldn't feel like yourself and you wouldn't feel like other people are seeing you as you see you.
That's so true, but I never thought of it that way because why do we wear certain colors? We want them to represent us, who we are.
We want to be known.
And be seen. We want to be seen. And isn't that ultimately, isn't that what it comes down to? A lot of, what motivates us? We want to be seen.
Absolutely. And I think really that is one of the most significant survival strategies that human beings have been imbued with. Because if we're known and accepted for who we genuinely are, that is the best guarantee for our survival over a long lifetime, barring accidents, disasters, incidental events. Because the more connected we are, the deeper our support system is, the more we're a part of the community, the more we have the protection of one another as we move through life.
Interesting. You make us think. It's not just, I just put a t-shirt on today and it was blue. No, there's more.
Yeah, that's right. I'm putting on this teal and pink color because, I want to stick around. I don't want to check out of this world yet. I'm still here.
But you know what? I really mean this when I say it. That color looks great on you. It really
Thank you.
does. It's like, when you look at your coloring and all,
Mhm.
it seems to fit you. I really mean that. And I try to think of it, maybe because are these the blues here? I always get it confused, and I'm embarrassed to even admit it. Cool and warm colors. I get them confused.
You know what? That's because it is confusing because a blue can be a cool blue and it can be a warm blue.
Hmm.
So if you think about blue, if you mix a warm color with it, if you mix a little yellow in with blue, it sort of moves toward green.
Green.
And the yellow is a warm color because the yellow is, I mean, it's obviously by itself warm, and blue in this sort of pure blue tone is cool, but you can add yellow to it and make it warmer.
I just realized something that yellow is the color of the sun, if you will. That's how it's
Hmm.
represented. And what's the
Sure.
sun? What's the sun?
Heat, warmth.
Warmth. And blue, the color of the ocean, water, if you look at it that way. And what's
Yeah,
typically, it's cooler. It's not 212 degrees or higher.
that's right.
It's cooler. I never thought of it that way. After all these years, Barbara, why did I not?
Well,
All right.
that's because our educational system focuses on the three R's, which were appropriate to focus on maybe 100, 150 years ago when we needed a population that could work in factories and industry. We needed a population to be basically literate.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so we don't focus too much on the arts or music or dance or other kind of modes of self-expression because if you're working in a factory, no factory boss wants you to be expressing yourself on the line. It's got to be made the same way for the product to come out so it will operate.
Yeah. And they don't
So
care what you're wearing.
I don't care what you're wearing. In
Ah,
fact, they probably give you a coverall to put on before you go in there so
right.
that you're safer.
Yep.
But what happens, oh, I lost my train of thought. Just got derailed. Okay, where was I going with this?
Well, we were talking about different colors and the warmth and the cool of those colors.
Oh, the education system,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So now I got it. Back on the track. If we were taught how to draw instead of how to read in the early grades. We were taught how to represent our three-dimensional world on a two-dimensional surface or in a three-dimensional modeling kind of way. Like architecture students have to do these elaborate models of what they're going to build, um, things like that.
Hmm.
But we weren't taught how to read. How many of us do you think would just figure out reading for the fun of it?
I don't know how many would. I wonder. I think about that. But I think it's also taken for granted. Yeah, every kid knows how to draw. We don't have to teach them how to do that. They just grab a crayon instinctively. They're doing stuff. So yeah, no, we got to
Well,
teach them other stuff.
yeah, yeah, we got to teach them the stuff that's not intuitive. And you're right, there is an intuitive aspect to art that there is not in learning what letters make what sounds and what shapes of lines make what letters and what that has to do with speech and what those configurations of sound and letters actually mean related to the world we're living in, whether it's
Hmm.
a tangible object or an ethereal sort of concept. Yeah.
Well, why do you think, Barbara, that some people gravitate more toward the creative side, painting, drawing, art? Others gravitate more toward the remedial side, maybe math, science, writing, things like that. What's going on there? Why some are here and some are there?
Jung had kind of a theory about that, that our personalities form along the lines of spectrum between, say, extrovert and introvert, And one of the spectrums that I think relates to this is a spectrum between people who want closure and who want to be able to make decisions based on kind of factual, rational things. And on the other end, people who like to leave things open-ended so they can get more information before they have to make a decision. Then another spectrum is between people who really are focused on what their senses can take in. So they're looking at like look at an image of, say, people with their pets in a veterinarian's waiting room. The person who's focused on senses will tell you how many animals there are, what different breeds of animals are there, how old the people are that are there,
Mm.
how sick anybody looks, what color the walls are. The person who's on the intuitive end will tell you which pet owner is the most anxious, which one might be there just for a routine visit, so it's no big deal, which one is the closest relationship to their pet from the way that they're sitting. So they're using intuitive cues to make a judgment about something that is more ethereal than something you could put your hand on.
See, I'm trying to put this, I'm trying to process this. And what do we got? We have ourselves to figure it out. So, you put it in your head, somebody else's would be different. I gravitate with facts. I believe you can't deny it. Fact's a fact. But
Mhm.
at the veterinarian's office and I'm trying to look at how that would look toward me and what for me and what I'd be looking at. Um, I'm kind of in the middle, like, and I don't want to be. I don't want to just say that. Although intuitiveness, personally, in the last 6 months, I've elevated mine in a big way.
Well, this is what Jung had actually theorized, that we are born starting out closer to one end or the other of these spectrums,
Wow.
and that from life experience we begin to learn how the other end functions, and we begin to practice. What if I was more extroverted? What would that look like? What if I did wait and gather a few more facts before I make a decision about this? What about, and I mean, I think maybe on that spectrum is where we kind of find where the engineers might be at the kind of fact, data information end, and the artists and musicians and dancers might be at the sort of open, no one right answer necessarily end of that spectrum. Or,
I really am in the middle. I got to tell you, because I am usually definitive in something.
Mhm.
But at the same time, the intuitive side, I'll be looking in that vet's office at the people, the pets, feeling their pain. Dog sick. That hurts. Picking up on it. Uh,
Right, right.
would you
Well,
say?
and that actually gives you a fuller set of information with which to relate to the
Hmm.
environment you're in.
Hmm. What if you don't? What if you, let's say your job forces you to be more this than that, whatever those are. Are you not really being authentic?
Oh, not necessarily. No. I mean,
Okay.
because I think we all make compromises in what we choose to do or feel obliged to do or choose to do, although it may not be internally pleasing, because there are benefits that we gain from making that choice that we wouldn't gain through something that was more internally pleasing. I mean, the kind of starving artist,
Mm.
stereotype comes to mind, where, there are many, many working artists who have a day job.
Yep.
That little quip, don't quit your day job.
Yeah, for sure. But maybe their purpose is art. And then I would imagine, obviously, myself, I shared with you, I almost became a syndicated cartoonist when I was in my low 20s. I was already in broadcasting and I continue that way because that's the way to make money and a living, et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
yeah.
And that's my purpose. But for others, their purpose may be creative, but they're an accountant by day. But to fulfill their purpose, maybe they're, well, you know what? I'm going to give a real world example. I have
Okay.
a friend who has been a coworker. We did a morning radio show for about 10 years, and she stepped off of the radio side and then went into some other areas, charitables and things like that. Now she works, for an entertainment company, but there's a creative side of her that needs to be addressed. So what is she doing now? She makes, I'm not going to explain this well, but these crafts where it's a bottle on a piece of wood, but she personalizes every single one, with different colors, and she is selling tons of these at craft shows on Facebook. But that is
Awesome.
her. I believe her purpose is creativity. And this is where she's letting it out, making a little side hustle money over there, but still being
Yeah.
creative. But she's fulfilling that. I believe if that's in you and you're not getting that done, you're going to be conflicted. You're going to feel off, right?
It's maybe this is the bad punster in me, but I can't help but wonder if kind of bottling up her creativity for that time, for those years, kind of gave her a critical mass with which to kind of jump into having a more solid sense of what it was she wanted to create.
That's potentially true. Yeah.
I do think that we can incubate ideas. We can incubate possibilities. I call it, putting it on my back burner in my head.
Hmm.
I've always got a little stove that's got some kind of a pot of something simmering back there.
Yep.
I
Same.
never know when the soup is going to be done, but I do know when it is done, when it's ready to start ladling it out and putting some color and line and shape and form to it.
Mm. Do you ever get inspiration um, to do a painting, to do something? Does it, do
Yes.
you feel that?
Yeah, I do very much. I
Mm.
do. For a long time in my artwork, I have been kind of thinking about how I like to portray what I call Adam and Eve making the best of it.
Do tell. I'm trying
So
to process that.
the Genesis story is that Adam and Eve make a poor choice while they're in the Garden of Eden and they get kicked out. They're expelled. Okay, now you're in the real world. What are we going to do? I kind of like really, I'm using that as a vehicle to think about our primal origin into it, like where did that come from anyway? Where did ballroom dancing come from? My mother-in-law loved to ballroom dance and told me that one time she had a dream that the most perfect dance partner came and asked her to dance, and she would go to these dance clubs in Chicago for her whole adult life. Starting, I mean, at the end of high school, she was the senior class's best dancer, and she met the guy that won the guy's version of that 60 years later on a dance floor in a Chicago ballroom. So some people have, they've got the bite and they've got to do it. And she said this dream that she had, it was just amazing how smoothly he moved her around the dance floor and how attuned she felt. And what a beautiful, fulfilling experience it was, even though it was a sleeping dream.
Wow.
And I mean, yeah, that's still just kind of when I think about it, I get little goosebumps up and down because it was just even hearing her kind of describe it was so lovely.
Talk about things meant to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
never say never,
Yeah.
but I couldn't ballroom dance. Not my thing. I can't.
Yeah.
I need to do my own thing. I can't be syncopated. I look at
Yes.
people country line dancing.
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
I'm going to a country concert tomorrow night. Not even kidding. And it's not like I'm a big country fan. It's part of my job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
Yeah.
it's a fun
Sure.
thing. I love live music. But I look at people country line dancing, and I love y'all. But you look like robots. It looks like you're being controlled. I can't do that. And
Yes.
it's just not my thing. I need free form.
Yes.
I'll dance to anything, but in my own way.
Oh,
Uh,
I know. I can't do it either. And I was very reassured when my daughter, at the age of 4, wanted to take ballet lessons. And in one of the early lessons, the parents are kind of sitting to the back watching. Everyone is doing a plie where you put your heels together and then you bend your knees. And it's just supposed to be sort of a graceful, down and up movement. And there was my daughter out of the dozen little 4-year-olds there, putting her toes together so that her knees came together and she could not bend her knees and go down to save her
wow.
life. And she could not see what the difference was between why hers weren't and everyone else around her was doing this graceful dip. And I was like, oh my gosh, she inherited the non-dancer gene to me. But at least it's not really my fault. It's in the genes. So I don't have to blame myself for being a lousy dancer anymore. It was delightful. And
Isn't it funny how things like how that goes, how we're why
yes.
every one of us so individual, so different. I just got a flash. I don't go to church a lot, but I was asked to read at church, and
Okay.
hey, nice voice, can you read at church?
Why not? Yeah.
And I did it for a while, but I kind of dropped out of it. Just wasn't feeling it anymore. But the part that was going against my grain was the formatics. Walk in, holding book down. If this person is not there, then do this. Then you have to do this, that, and that. Like, I don't want to do it wrong, so I'd rather not do it at all. But I'm a rule follower at the same time. It's not like I beat to my own drum, but there's just certain things that
Certain
don't
things that
work
don't
for me,
fit, that your
right?
system says this is not a good fit for you, Steve. And my daughter, a couple of lessons later to the dance class, the teacher had ordered tutus for everyone. And so she came home with her big fluffy pink tutu. And the next week when it was time to go to dance class, she said, "It's okay, mommy, we don't have to go. I have the tutu." So
It's like I won the prize. I won the prize at the carnival. I'm
exactly.
good.
Exactly. This is what I really wanted to be a dancer for, so I could get the tutu. It has nothing to do with moving my body.
Did
I just
you
wanted this
did you
cool thing.
quietly as a mom feel relief?
I did.
And did you also feel that almost bad for your daughter that she couldn't conform and do what the others are doing, but
I didn't really because
no?
I felt like what my daughter had was a much closer connection to her own internal compass than I had been able to have as a child.
Wow.
So I felt, wow, okay, so I am giving her space to be who she is. That's that's pretty
That's
bad.
honestly beautiful. It really is. I try to go back into my head when my kids were younger. My youngest is 17, but
Uh-huh.
and of course, been through, dance things, cheerleading, whatever. Uh, my son, he doesn't do sports. I don't do sports, never did. When he would play Little League when he was much, much younger,
Yeah.
he wasn't good at it. And it's probably on me because I wasn't, encouraged because I'm not into sports. But
Well, yeah,
I
that's right.
feel like, oh wow, that was bad. Oh, I feel bad. But you know what? I shouldn't have. I should have thought it, through your eyes, where that's the individuality. It doesn't matter if you're scoring a run. It's how you're doing it, playing the game, so to speak, doing your own
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
If you kind of know what your values are, what your priorities are. She wanted the tutu. She didn't want to dance. Her legs wouldn't work. They wouldn't go in the right way anyway. So, I'm good with the tutu in my dress up play.
By the way, you described her dance moves so well. Like I was there. I'm being honest. Like it looked like I could see it. I could see it. It's interesting how we digressed here, but it all comes back to the same thing:
It does.
individuality, creativity, how we're all wired differently, and how creativity essentially comes from within the heart. Um,
That's and that's something that I really want everyone to know we all have. You may not have been encouraged when you showed it, but I guarantee you, every last one of us has creativity within us.
yeah, it almost pains me when people say, I'm not creative. I can't draw. I'm like, "Yeah, yes, you can. You
Oh
can.
yeah, as an art therapist, especially, I've heard that so many times, and it does kind of break my heart, but it also gives me great joy when I work with someone for a while and they begin to feel their own heart and the way it shows up. Do we have a minute, like 30 seconds left?
We have like literally 20 seconds.
Okay, so in a group that I was doing with recovering women addicts, this one young woman just could not bring herself to make an original drawing. So she would bring in coloring pages and color those. And that was good. She was using colors she liked and getting attuned. Finally, after about 6 months of coming to my weekly groups, she started scribbling with all the crayon colors on a whole page. And then she pasted a beautiful flower in the middle and a ripe peach on the bottom. And she wrote in between, I am growing beautiful.
Wow.
And that just filled my heart. It just almost burst that she could do something like that, that combined scribbling and pictures cut out of magazines and held that beautiful sentiment about herself.
With such a deep message, obviously coming from within. Wow. I didn't even know you work with people in that capacity.
I worked at a recovery center for about 6 years, not full time, but I was the person who brought art, expression into the program. And
Mm,
I felt very valued and appreciated there. And that, there really was, it was very satisfying work to do because so many of the women in that situation, men too, I'm sure, have really lost touch with their own sense of value, their
mm,
own sense of worthiness. And it's that's the tragedy, I think, of addiction more than anything.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's so much inside that hasn't come out and does through art.
that's right. That's right.
Amazingly, we don't realize it. And shortly said here, challenges I had in my childhood, I realized this as an adult decades later speaking with you, drawing cartoons when I was, 9 years old. I was in therapy. I was giving myself therapy. I didn't see it that way, but now I
You're
do.
connecting, yeah, you're connecting with your own healing power,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is really the most healing of any source of healing that we can find, the kind that comes from within.
It's almost as if I was journaling because the comic strip I
Yes,
drew was
yes.
me.
Yes,
And
you
you'd
were
never know it, but
processing your experience. So you were being you, and then you were sitting up here looking at you and
yeah.
going, well, that looks okay to me.
Yeah.
I don't know
Or
why
or
anybody else has a problem with me. I look okay to me.
or the
And
me I
that's
want to
what
be.
we want.
Or the me I want to be or the me I think I was or could be. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yes.
What's your website again?
Ah, my website is Robertson Art Therapy LLC.com. No punctuation or anything between all those words.
Gotcha.
My
And
email is brobertson.atr@gmail.com. I would love to hear from anybody. Take a look at my website, lots of resource articles about creativity and art making and so on and so forth. And make contact if you'd like. I would love to hear from anyone who's been interested.
you give us lots to think about, and it's not just art. There's a lot more going on there. Appreciate today. Thank you so much for being here today, Barbara.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.